Alright guys, so today we're going to be continuing on our journey of solving equations. So the last couple of days in class we've been pretty much building equations without me telling you guys equations. We're building expressions using number tricks. Just remember that expressions have operators, a variable, and a number. Today we're going to focus on equations. Well, equations just have the same thing as an expression, but this time it has an equal sign and then a constant on the other end. So on the screen you'll see various items. Today or yesterday we're gonna do a quick lab on how to wrap a present. But solving equations is relatively easy if you just imagine yourself wrapping a present and then giving it to someone and then watching them unwrap it, and then everything they are literally undoing everything you just did, and that's basically how you solve the equation. So make sure you're whisking this W. The title of this video is going to be Undo Equation, and then let's start the summarizing part. On the screen is a very basic one-step equation where you have something that happens to x and then you get an answer or an output. So if you want to think in terms of number trick, if I were to ask you to describe this to me, it would be pick a number. It would be pick a number, and then it would be subtract 5, and the answer is 15. So today we're going to focus on how to unwrap that. So if I were going to undo this, here's my variable. The very first thing that happens to my variable or my number is it gets subtracted by 5. And watch closely how I do this. I'm going to build what's called an undo table. This is the do part. This is the undo part. And this is the result. And we want to focus on the results. So again, here's my number. I'm going to subtract 5, and my final result. How do I know it's the result? It's always going to be the number on the other side of the equal sign that's standing by itself. So my result's going to be 15. Before I even do anything, I'm going to go into the undo and basically unwrap the equation or do the inverse operation or the opposite. When you're asked, how did you solve this? You just say, basically, I did the inverse operation. The inverse operation, or the opposite of subtracting by 5, is going to be adding by 5. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take my number, my result that they give me, and I'm just going to run it up. And 15 plus 5, the result is 20. There's no undoing for x, so x has to equal to 20. Down here, checking my work, 20 minus 15, oh, excuse me, 20 minus 5, does equal 15. Very relatively easy problem. Just want to get you ease into how to do the do, undo results. I've had students in the past that called it the DIR table, but really it's just whatever you want to call it. It's basically undoing the equation. So let's step up a notch and let's do a different problem. Here we have, if I were to describe this number trick to you, is pick a number, divide it by 5, divide by 5, and you get 45. So quickly you can tell there's only one step to this. So if I were going to build a do undo table, here's my do, here's my undo, and here's my results. You charge my board. Anyways, so here's my number. The first thing that happens to it is it gets divided by 5. I'm just going to go ahead and write the mathematical symbol for divide. There's nothing else that happens after that. My result, what they give me, is 45. Again, 45 is sitting by itself on the other side of the equal sign. And then before I do anything, I'm going to go in and fill out the undo column. So the opposite, or the inverse of dividing by 5, is going to be multiplying by 5. There is no inverse to W. So now I like to call it the zigzag. Later on when we do multi-step, here's 45. I'm going to run it up, multiply by 5, and then I will get a zigzag out, an output of the answer. Well, you can quickly do it in your head, but I'm going to show you one more time how to multiply something like this using the Basically, it's going like this. Because 40 plus 5 is 45. So 5 times 40 is 200. 5 times 5 is 25. So my final answer is going to be 225. So 225 divided by 5 is going to be 45. You can always use your calculator to check your work as well. Let's do that real quick. I have a calculator right here. So 225 divided by 5 should equal 45. And we are good. And again, a one-step problem using the undo table. Okay, here we go. So now we have stepping up another level or another tier. Instead of one step, we have a two-step. So I'm just going to quickly describe this number trick to you. Pick a number, divide it by 3, and then subtract 14. And you will get 1. So this could be viewed as the one trick, the number one trick, where you input one certain number and you will always get 1. So the first thing we're going to do is, I already built a table for you. We're going to start. I already started it in. That's my first number. And then the next step is going to be dividing by 3. After that, it's going to be subtracting 14. Now, why aren't we doing minus 14 before we're dividing? Because if you quickly look at the equation, you always put what is attached to the variable or closest to the variable. But really, think about your orders of operations. If you're going to give somebody a number trick, you're going to give them in the orders of operations so they know how to follow your set of instructions. So again, this time, dividing definitely goes before subtracting. If there were parentheses around the n minus 14 and then all of it is on top of 3, then we have a different situation. And then the result is, I'm kind of short a row, but 1. And then this is going to be the undo. This is going to be the do. I'm actually short a column. We'll just do the results over here. Sorry about that, guys. I'll fix it in a little bit. And then, so before I even do anything, I'm going to go in and undo it. So the opposite of negative 14 is positive 14, or the opposite of minus 14 is adding 14. The opposite of dividing by 3 is going to be multiplying by 3. There's nothing to do for n because there is my answer. This is the box I'm looking for. So if I take my answer or my result they gave me of 1 and I run it through, 1 plus 14, I get an output of 15. And then again, zigzag in, 15 times 3, my output is 45. So my answer should be 45. So to rewrite this, you would say n is equal to 45. And again, double check your work. You can put in n is equal to 45. Quickly use your calculator to check your work. I have 45 divided by 3 is equal to 15 minus 1 does equal 14. So we are good. So just unwrapping presents. Throughout the semester, throughout this year, you'll hear me say unwrap the equation or undo the equation. So all you need to do is describe the do, which is the number tricks we've been working on, and then we're just adding the undo, basically unwrapping what we just did. Okay, so now let's step it up a notch. Another notch, we have a multi-step equation. This time I already built a table for you. We can quickly fill out the description. I'm going ahead and if I were you, I would pause the video. Definitely write this one down in your summary because you will encounter problems like this. And then I will move on and then you can check your work afterwards and then we can compare results in class or watch the video. So here we go. Pick x. So here's my x. Okay, it's right there. What is the first thing that happens to it? Well, it is going to be minus 3 because it's on top of the dividing by 4. After it's minus 4 or minus 3 or subtracting 3, the whole result is then divided by 4. Notice how this 7 is on the outside of the quantity of x minus 3. So if you really want, you can put parentheses around that like that and you still get the same result. And next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to increase by 7. And I double check, make sure I have every number they gave me. I have x, I have negative 3, divided by 4, and positive 7. My result is going to be 42. The result is always what you get after you do some operation to it. And then from here, just like we did earlier, we're going to take the result they give me and we're going to just input, output, and make a little zigzag. So 42 plus 7, whoops, I skipped a step, didn't I? Before we do the zigzag, we need to go in there, we need to go in there and undo each of the operators. So minus 7 multiplied by 4 plus 3. Quickly look on the screen. The opposite of plus 7 or increasing by 7 is going to be subtracting 7. The opposite of dividing by 4 is going to be multiplying by 4. The opposite of negative 3 is increasing by positive 3. And now we can go zigzag. So 42 minus 7 is going to be 35. 35 times 4, well, I know that 4 times 30 is 120, and then 4 times 5 is 20, so that's going to be 140. And then 140 plus 3 is going to give me 143. My result, x, my secret number that I'm looking for, should be 143. Again, using a calculator, check your work. We have 143 minus 3 divided by 4 plus 7 does equal 42. So we just found that x is equal to 143, and we just did a 3-step equation. Okay, this one is one of the toughest one that we'll probably encounter this year. Later on, we'll see variables on both sides. But really, if you look at this, this is just a combination of everything we've done in the last 2 weeks. We have very different, we have similar terms right here, but it's being blocked by parentheses with a number outside of it. So I hope right now in your mind, you're like, oh, all I gotta do is use the distributive property. So for example, I'm just gonna go ahead and do the distributive property and multiplication and just rewrite the problem before I even start solving it. So I'm going to do it over here. So I get 8 is equal to negative 5a plus, well, I know that first thing I'm going to do is box each term with the symbol to the left so that I don't lose my positives and negatives. I have a positive 2 times a negative 2a, so that's going to be a negative 4a. A positive 2 times a positive 1 is going to be a positive 2. Again, if you're confused on what I just did, go back and rewatch the distributive property video and then jump back in, which is totally fine. And then from here, I noticed that I have a positive 8, a negative 5a, a negative 4a, and a positive 2. I quickly tell that this and this are similar. So negative 5a plus negative 4a will equal negative 9a. Positive 2, just drop that down, is equal to 8. So now we have a very manageable equation. This is like the same equation basically as the last 3 that we just worked on. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the equation right here. I get 8 is equal to negative 9a plus 2. The only difference with this one is the equals 8 is on the other side. It's on the left side instead of the right side. No worries. We're just going to do column is always the left-hand column. Here's my variable, a. The first thing that happens to it is multiply by negative 9. After it's multiplied by negative 9, increase by 2. Nothing else. My result is 8. I'm going to go in the undo column here in the middle and just do the opposite. The opposite of multiplying by negative 9 is dividing by negative 9. The opposite of plusing 2 is subtracting 2. Here's my result. Run it through. 8 plus negative 2, or 8 combined with negative 2, will give me 6. 6 divided by negative 9 is going to give me negative 6/9. Reduce that fraction down. Divide both the top and the bottom by 3, and my final answer is going to be negative 2/3. Check your answer. You can quickly convert this into a decimal, but I know it's a repeating decimal of 0.6 repeating. So if you're using a TI-84 or a graphing calculator at home, make sure that you're inputting it 10 times. Okay, and that's all I have for today. That's undo equations. Make sure you list this in your notebook, and we will continue to practice in class. Thanks, guys.